I got a call just after 10 p.m. from a stranger. Sir, your daughter is here. She looks tired and weak. We're closing soon. She was sitting outside a diner 3 hours from home, alone, freezing, abandoned. Her husband had left her there and vanished. No goodbye, no explanation, just an email saying, "This is for the best." That night, I picked up the broken pieces of my daughter. And after I held her, I made sure the man who did this paid for it, piece by piece. And no, I don't regret it. What happened next was rather surprisingly unexpected. I will tell you everything. First, let me thank you for your continuous support. If you love stories like this one, support us by subscribing to this channel and comment where you are watching us from. It will be great to hear from you. Now let's jump into the details of what happened. I wasn't expecting anything that night. Not a knock at the door, not a sudden storm rolling in, and definitely not the call that would flip everything I thought I knew upside down. It was just past 10:40 p.m. I remember the time exactly because I just turned off the news and was halfway into washing the dinner dishes. The house was quiet, too quiet since my daughter got married and moved 3 hours away with her husband, Mark. I'd gotten used to the silence, embraced it, even. But that night, it felt too still, like something was brewing and hadn't yet shown its face. The phone rang. I frowned at the unfamiliar number. Usually I don't answer unknown calls that late, but something, maybe instinct, maybe dread, made me pick up. Hello. A woman's voice came through, gentle but edged with concern. Sir, are you the father of Emily Cross? My breath caught. Yes. Who is this? My name's Nora. I work at a diner off Highway 63, about 10 minutes outside Greenfield. Your daughter is here, sir. She's been sitting here for hours. We're closing soon, and she looks really tired. And cold. She won't say much. I found your number in her phone. I gripped the edge of the sink with one hand, the other holding the phone tighter than I needed to. Is she hurt? No, not hurt. Just not okay. She's outside now. Refused to come back in. That was all I needed to hear. I'm on my way. I didn't ask questions. I didn't try to call Emily. I knew she wouldn't answer. I threw on the nearest jacket, grabbed my wallet and keys, and walked out into the night. The chill hit me like a slap, but I barely felt it. My truck roared to life, and I peeled out of the driveway like the road was on fire. It was a 3-hour drive. A long, dark stretch of highway with barely any other cars. My hands gripped the wheels so tight, my knuckles ached. My mind raced in every direction. What the hell was she doing in a diner parking lot, at night, alone? Where the hell was Mark? I tried to make sense of it. Maybe they had a fight. Maybe she just needed air. Maybe, God, maybe it was something worse. I kept thinking about her voice the last time we talked. It had been maybe 2 weeks earlier. She'd sounded off, but brushed it off as work stress. Said Mark was keeping busy. I let it go. Maybe I shouldn't have. When I finally pulled into the small lot of that roadside diner, it was nearly 2 a.m. And there she was, sitting on a cold metal bench just outside the doors, arms wrapped around herself. Her hair pulled up in a messy knot like she hadn't looked in a mirror all day. Her face was pale, lips slightly blue, and her hands, God, her hands were trembling so bad I thought she might break apart. I slammed the truck into park and jumped out. Emily. Her head snapped up at the sound of my voice. For a second, she looked lost, like she didn't believe I was really there. Then her face crumbled, and she stood up slowly. Dad, she whispered. I closed the distance in 3 strides and wrapped my arms around her. She sank into me like a child, like the weight of her own body was too much to carry. Her coat was thin, useless. I could feel the chill in her bones. It's okay, I murmured, kissing the top of her head. You're okay now. I've got you. She didn't say anything else. Not right then. Just shook in my arms like all the pain she'd been holding back had finally found a way out. Nora, the diner worker, came to the door and gave me a nod of understanding. We gave her coffee and some soup. She didn't eat much. I didn't want to leave her out here alone. You did the right thing, I said. Thank you. Really. I helped Emily into the truck, blasted the heat, and covered her with a blanket I'd kept in the back seat. She stared straight ahead, like she couldn't bear to look at me, like she was ashamed. The ride back was silent for the first 30 minutes. She clutched the blanket to her chest and stared out the window at the dark fields rolling past. I didn't push. I just drove. But eventually, she spoke, quietly, like every word cost her something. He left me, Dad. My grip on the wheel tightened. Mark. She nodded. We were driving back from his cousin's house. He said he needed to stop for gas and a snack. I said I'd stay in the car. He told me to go inside, warm up, get a coffee. So I did. She paused, swallowed hard. 20 minutes passed. Then 30. I called, no answer. I went outside. The car was gone. Her voice cracked on that last word. I could hear the disbelief in it still. The hurt. The humiliation. I waited. I thought maybe he had car trouble. Maybe he went somewhere to get help. But hours passed. I used the diner's phone to check my email. There was a message. He said, her breath hitched. He said he was sorry, that he wasn't coming back, that he was in love with someone else, that this was the cleanest way to do it. My jaw clenched so hard my teeth hurt. I wanted to scream, break something, but I couldn't, because she was already broken enough for the both of us. What kind of man does that? I said, my voice low, barely controlled. Leaves a woman in the middle of nowhere, like she's garbage? She didn't answer. She just turned her face toward the window again. I didn't sleep when we got back. I helped her into bed, made sure she had water and an extra blanket, then sat in the kitchen, staring at the wall while the coffee pot gurgled behind me. My little girl, my Emily, was home again, but not whole. And that bastard Mark had made sure of it. But he didn't know who he was dealing with. He thought he could walk away from her without consequence. Thought he could humiliate her, abandon her, leave her out in the cold like she didn't matter. He was wrong. And before this was over, he was going to learn just how big of a mistake he made. The next morning was colder than usual. October had rolled in with a vengeance, gray skies, brittle wind, and that heavy feeling in the air like something was about to break. I hadn't slept. I couldn't. I sat in that same kitchen chair, hours passing in a fog while I stared out the window and replayed every moment of last night in my head like a loop I couldn't stop. Emily didn't come out of the guest room until almost noon. I heard the soft creak of the door and the tentative shuffle of her feet on the hardwood. I didn't move at first. I wanted her to decide if she was ready to talk. When she finally walked in, wearing an old hoodie from her college days and clutching a mug of tea, I looked at her and didn't see a woman. I saw my daughter at 8 years old, crying because a boy at school had called her fat. That same look in her eyes. That same crumpled silence. I pushed a plate toward her. Toast. Peanut butter. Just eat a little. She nodded and sat down across from me, picking at the crust with shaky fingers. We sat in silence for a while. Her eyes were swollen, ringed with red. At one point, she tried to eat a bite, then put the toast back down like her body had betrayed her. Do you want to tell me everything? I finally asked. She stared at the table. I don't know where to start. How long's it been going on? I asked. A few months, she said. I didn't know at first. He'd changed his passwords. Started taking his phone into the bathroom. He said it was work stress, but I should have known. Her voice trembled, and I waited. There was this one night, maybe 6 weeks ago. He came home drunk. Said he'd been out with coworkers, but I smelled perfume on his shirt. Not mine. He laughed when I asked. Told me I was being dramatic. I gritted my teeth. He gaslit you. Yeah. And I believed him. Her voice cracked again. God, I feel so stupid. You're not stupid, I said firmly. You loved him. That's not stupid. That's human. She nodded, eyes filling. But it got worse. Last week I found a hotel receipt in his jacket pocket. 2 nights in Chicago. I asked him about it, and he didn't even try to lie. Just said, it's complicated. That was his answer. Complicated. I repeated, almost spitting the word. And then yesterday, she said. He asked if I wanted to take a drive, get out of the city for a bit. I thought maybe he was trying to fix things. I wanted to believe that so badly. He was quiet the whole time. Then he pulls into that diner lot and tells me to get something warm while he gets gas. I went inside, ordered coffee, waited. She paused. Her lip trembled. I waited 4 hours, Dad. 4 hours. I walked outside every 20 minutes. Staff kept looking at me like I was pathetic. I kept thinking he'd show up, that this was just some cruel test I had to pass. Then the cashier asked if I was okay. I finally said no. She helped me look through my phone, and that's when I found the email. What did it say? Emily closed her eyes. It said, Emily, I'm sorry. I'm not coming back. This is for the best. I'm in love with someone else, and we're starting a new life. Please don't try to find me. My blood turned to ice. Did he take your things? She nodded. The house keys. My purse. My phone charger. Even the car's in his name. I had my phone in my jacket pocket and one $20 bill. I stood up from the table. I had to. I couldn't sit still with that kind of anger crawling under my skin. I walked to the window, stared out at the yellowing trees, and tried not to punch the wall. That son of a bitch left you stranded with $20 and a dying phone. Emily didn't answer. She didn't need to. I turned back to her. I need to know his full name. His workplace. The name of the woman he ran off with, do you know? She flinched. Dad, I'm not going to hurt him, but I am going to make sure he feels every ounce of what he did to you. I don't know her name, she said, but she works with him. Accounting firm. Her name came up once, Cassandra something. He said they were just working late on an audit. Figures. Where's their office? Downtown. She pulled her knees to her chest like she was trying to disappear. I don't want to be dragged through a court battle, Dad. I don't have the energy. You won't be. But you're not going to sit here and let him get away with this either. She was quiet for a moment, then said something I didn't expect. I feel like a ghost. I sat back down. What do you mean? I feel like I don't exist anymore. Like he erased me. Took everything I thought we had and just deleted it. Like I was never his wife. Like I never mattered. I reached across the table and took her hand. You do matter. To me. You always have. And you're going to get through this. But right now, I need you to trust me. She nodded, but I saw the doubt in her eyes. Not in me, in herself. He had drained her of something I didn't know how to give back. But I could take something from him in return. After she went back to bed, I dug out an old notebook I hadn't touched in years. The kind I used when I was still running the business and keeping track of clients and contracts. I opened it to a clean page and wrote one thing at the top in big, black ink. Mark Cross will pay. I made a list. Names. Addresses. Old contacts. I called a friend who worked in cyber investigations. I called a buddy who used to be a paralegal. I even reached out to someone who still did some freelance IT work for law firms. By the time the sun set, I knew 3 things. Mark had been planning this for a while. He had taken more than just Emily's heart. He had drained her accounts, rerouted mail, and even filed a temporary change of address form. He was now living in a condo in another city, paid for in full under his name, but with 2 toothbrushes in the bathroom. He thought he was clean. He thought no one would come after him. He didn't know who he left her with. And I wasn't going to come after him with fists. I was going to come after him with fire. It's a strange thing, revenge. People like to romanticize it, turn it into poetry. But in real life, it's methodical, quiet. You don't shout about it. You study. You stalk. You wait. It's not about rage, it's about control. And by the time I reached day 3 of my daughter lying in the guest room like a shell of herself, I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. I knew how to handle men like Mark. I'd dealt with liars, cheats, slick-talking salesmen back when I was running my contracting business. They all had a pattern. Charm you first, drain you next, then vanish before the mess they made could stain their reputation. But the thing is, the ones who vanish, they always leave a trail. And I had nothing but time. I started with the money. Emily had no idea how far he'd gone. While she was sleeping, I logged into the last shared account they had. Empty. But the bank history told a different story. 2 weeks before he left her, Mark had started transferring money in small increments. $500 here, $1,000 there. All to his secondary checking account under his name only. He did it just under the radar, so the notifications wouldn't flag anything unusual. He even made a final transfer the morning he left her at that diner. A cool $6,000. Then he deleted the alerts and changed her email access. I printed out every statement. Then came the phone records. I had to get a little creative there. Used an old favor to pull logs from a friend in IT security. What I found made my stomach twist. Hundreds of texts to a number saved under work. But the timestamps were suspicious. Late nights, weekends, even during their anniversary dinner. I cross-referenced the number. It belonged to Cassandra Lee Dumas. 32. Divorced twice. Works in the same firm. Recently moved into a high-rise condo in a neighboring city. That address. matched the billing address on the utilities Mark had just started paying for. And the lease? Not under Cassandra's name at all. It was under his. So let me get this straight. He left my daughter freezing at a diner, stole from her, rerouted her life, and now played house with another woman in a condo she didn't even pay for? Yeah. No. Not on my watch. I didn't go nuclear. Not yet. First, I collected. I spent the next few days calling former co-workers, friends from their wedding, even Mark's second cousin, who always had too much to say at family BBQs. I framed it casual, just checking in, but I picked up pieces. Turns out, he'd been planning the move for over 6 months. Told people Emily was emotionally unstable. Claimed she was controlling. Said she'd never wanted kids. The kind of lies cowards tell to justify walking out the door. But here's the best part. He'd bragged about it. Said he was going to pull a clean break. That he had a new start lined up with someone who actually supported his ambitions. What ambitions? The man sold tax software. His ambition was running from responsibility. But my favorite discovery? He had lied to his own mother. Told her Emily cheated. That she ran off and drained their joint accounts. That he was the one left in the dust. It was all unraveling now. I sat down with Emily that night. She looked better, still pale, still bruised in the places heartbreak hides, but better. She'd showered, wore jeans instead of pajamas, even managed to eat most of the soup I made. I need to tell you something, I said, laying the folder of evidence on the table between us. She didn't open it, just looked at me with those tired eyes. Is this about Mark? Yes. She hesitated. I don't know if I want to see it. You don't have to, but I want you to understand something, Em. This wasn't your fault. You didn't just fall in love with the wrong guy. You got targeted. Played. He planned this, down to the last detail. She looked down. But why? Why not just leave like a decent person? Because decent people don't build their happiness on the bones of someone else's life. She finally opened the folder. Saw the receipts. The messages. The condo lease. Her hand trembled as she flipped through each page, eyes darting like they couldn't keep up. He moved in with her before he even left me. Yup. He told his mom I was the one who left? Sure did. And the money, her voice faded. That was my savings. My grandma left me that. I know, I said quietly. And we're going to get it back. Her eyes shot up. How? I smiled, but it wasn't warm. We don't need to break any laws. We just need to tell the truth. Loud enough that everyone he's lying to hears it. She stared at me for a long time, then asked, Are you sure you're not doing this for you? I paused. Fair question. Maybe I am, I said. But does that make it any less right? She didn't answer, but she didn't stop me either. Revenge, when done right, doesn't look like chaos. It looks like paperwork, phone calls, strategically timed emails, 1,000 little blades that cut before the target even knows they're bleeding. Mark wanted a clean break. I was going to hand him shards. I started with the emails. One to his employer's HR department, another to the regional partner of the firm. I kept them clinical, professional. Attached a scanned copy of the condo lease, signed weeks before he left my daughter, paired with screenshots of romantic texts between him and Cassandra, most of them time-stamped during billable hours. I didn't say much. Just, Dear firm name. As a concerned party, I thought you should be aware of ongoing behavior that may reflect poorly on your firm's ethics and billing practices. Respectfully, a concerned citizen. I sent it from a throwaway Gmail. 24 hours later, Mark was called into a compliance review. A friend inside the firm tipped me off. Apparently, he'd been billing clients for hours spent in hotels and weekend getaways with Cassandra, violating company policy. A potential fraud investigation. Then came social media. Now, I didn't go nuclear right away. I didn't name him in my first post. Just a carefully worded story on Facebook, visible to friends and family. Imagine marrying a man, trusting him, supporting him, only to be abandoned in a diner parking lot while he disappears to start a new life with someone else. No warning, no explanation, just an email saying, This is for the best. My daughter deserved better. She still does. To the ones who knew and stayed silent. We see you too. It spread faster than I expected. People started commenting, asking questions. Some guessed immediately. Others messaged me privately with stories, little red flags Emily had ignored. Times Mark had said sketchy things, or belittled her in public, or conveniently forgot to invite her to firm parties. But what surprised me most were the people on his side who reached out. His own cousin messaged me. We always knew he was a liar. He tried to tell us Emily cheated, said she emptied his bank account, and ran off. We didn't believe him. I sent that message to Emily. She didn't reply, but I heard her crying in her room later. Not the broken kind of crying. This was different. Like a release. But I wasn't done. I printed out a physical packet, emails, texts, receipts, and mailed it anonymously to Cassandra's husband. Yes, husband. She hadn't filed for divorce yet, according to public court records. Mark wasn't her great escape. He was her midlife crisis. A week later, Cassandra's husband updated his Facebook status to single and posted a photo of a shattered wedding frame with the caption, "You two deserve each other." Mark's fantasy life was crumbling. His job was on the line. Cassandra's marriage was over. Their condo? Raided by her soon-to-be ex, who apparently took everything not nailed down. Still, Mark hadn't called Emily, hadn't apologized, hadn't even tried, until the voicemail. It came in at 1:14 a.m. I was in the garage, organizing files, when I heard her phone ring. She'd left it charging in the kitchen. One ring, then voicemail. She listened to it the next morning, standing at the kitchen counter with her arms folded like she needed to brace for impact. Mark's voice crackled through the speaker. Emily, I don't know what to say. I heard what your dad's been doing. Look, I didn't want to hurt you. I really didn't. Things got complicated. I panicked. I know I should have handled it better. But this public smear campaign, it's destroying my career. Please, can we just talk? Just once. I owe you that much. She stood there for a long time, silent. Then she pressed delete. You sure? I asked. She nodded. If he wanted to talk, he had 3 years and a wedding band to do it. He lost that chance. That was the first time I saw a flicker of her old self. Strong, unwavering. But the fallout wasn't done. Mark's mother called me. That was a moment I'd been expecting, but still, hearing her voice brought back memories. She used to dote on Emily, called her the glue that held her son together. Apparently, that glue wasn't strong enough once Cassandra started whispering ego fluff into his ear. You went too far, she snapped the second I answered. No, he did. He's losing everything. So did Emily. Difference is, she didn't choose to. You could have just let it go. I let out a breath and said, slow and clear, he left my daughter to freeze outside a closed diner while he flew off with his mistress. He emptied her accounts. Lied to your face. Lied to mine. You think I'm going to sit here and let him rewrite the story? She hung up. But the truth was already out. The silence that came after the fallout wasn't peaceful. It was thick. Still, the kind of silence that makes you nervous to speak, like anything louder than a whisper might shatter whatever fragile calm is left. Emily didn't cry much anymore. She didn't sleep much either. She walked around the house in her socks, like she didn't want to disturb anything, like she was still a guest in her own life. But the healing had started. Quietly. Steadily. The kind you don't notice until one day you realize the teacups are back in their usual place, the blanket on the couch is folded, and someone's humming softly in the kitchen. Emily had started working again. Just part-time, at a small bookstore not far from my place. Nothing glamorous, but it gave her structure. A rhythm. She started seeing a therapist, too. Said it helped to say things out loud that she hadn't even admitted to herself before. I gave him everything, she told me one night while we ate leftover lasagna. Every part of me. Every excuse. Every second chance. And he still chose her. You didn't lose him, I said. He lost you. She gave me a small, grateful smile. The kind that doesn't light up your face, but lets someone know you heard them. Really heard them. The truth was, I thought the worst was over. We'd burned his fantasy life to the ground. He'd been suspended from his job, publicly humiliated, and dragged into a financial investigation. Cassandra had moved back in with her parents. I thought we were finally done with him. But men like Mark? They don't fade away quietly. It was a Saturday afternoon, chilly but bright. Emily had gone out with a coworker for coffee. I was on the front porch, fixing the loose hinge on the screen door, when a silver sedan pulled into the driveway. I recognized it instantly. He got out slowly, wearing that same smug face he'd used at their engagement party. Hair perfect, shirt crisp. A man who thought charm could still get him in the door. I stood up straight. Turn around, I said before he even got halfway up the walkway. I just want to talk to her. She doesn't want to talk to you. She doesn't know what she wants. Don't. My voice came out sharper than I expected. You don't get to finish that sentence. He stopped, hands out like he was calming a wild animal. Look, I screwed up. I panicked. I didn't know how to end things, and I was trying to avoid a scene. You left her to freeze outside a diner. You coward. That wasn't the plan. Oh, so there was a plan? Please, enlighten me. He shifted his weight, visibly uncomfortable now. I thought she'd go back to the city. I didn't think she'd stay. I didn't think you'd get involved. You didn't think because you didn't care. I stepped forward, closing the distance between us. You used her, took her money, lied to her, and then you left her like trash on the side of the road. I was trying to start fresh. At whose expense? Mark's expression hardened. You ruined my life. Do you know that? I smiled. I didn't ruin it. I just handed out the receipts. He stared at me, breathing through his nose like he was trying to hold something back. Just let me talk to her. Just 5 minutes. You had 3 years and a wedding band. Your time's up. Right then, I heard her voice. Dad. Emily stood at the front door. Her eyes moved past me to Mark, and for a split second, I saw her shrink. Just slightly. Like her body remembered what her heart tried to forget. Mark's face changed instantly, softened, pathetic. Emily, I just wanted to see you. She didn't say anything. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. I messed up. I was confused. I made the wrong choice. I turned toward her, but she stepped forward herself. She looked calm, tired, but not broken. You didn't make the wrong choice, she said. You made the one you wanted, and now you have to live with it. He blinked. We had a life. No, she interrupted. I had a life. You had an escape plan. He flinched like she'd slapped him. She stepped down the porch and stood beside me. You should go. Mark looked at her like he didn't recognize her anymore. Then, finally, he turned and walked back to his car. Not a word. Not a backward glance. I watched until his taillights disappeared down the street. Emily exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for months. Then she looked at me and said, I don't want him back. Not even a piece of him. And for the first time since that phone call, I believed she meant it. You'd think after all of that, after the call, the 3-hour drive, the evidence, the exposure, the voicemail, the confrontation, you'd feel a sense of finality. Maybe even peace. But the truth is, peace doesn't arrive like a gift at your doorstep. It creeps in slowly. Through the sound of your daughter laughing again in the living room. Through the way her voice holds weight when she speaks. Not that paper-thin tremble it used to carry. Through the mornings when she pours herself coffee before I do, humming some song I don't know, barefoot in the kitchen like she belongs there. Like she's not trying to disappear anymore. That's how I knew we were healing. It didn't come from revenge. It came from reclamation. Still, people talked. You better believe they talked. Cousins, friends, neighbors who didn't even know Emily had gotten married in the first place suddenly had opinions on how I handled it. Don't you think you went too far? He was already gone. Why dig the knife deeper? I get it, but airing dirty laundry publicly? They weren't asking out of concern. They were judging from a safe distance, untouched by betrayal. The kind of people who'd rather whisper behind closed doors than stand beside the one bleeding. But let me tell you something. I don't regret a damn thing. Because that girl was left to freeze. That girl believed in vows. In forever. She didn't walk away, she got pushed. And when she hit the bottom, he didn't even look back to see if she survived the fall. So I did what any father with a spine and a heart would have done. I made sure the world saw him for who he was before he could rewrite the story. And now, Emily's building again. Slowly, yes. But honestly, with her own 2 hands. She's got a new apartment, small, sunlit, filled with second-hand furniture she picked herself. She paints on weekends now. It's messy, abstract, but every stroke is her way of reclaiming space. I helped her hang the last frame on her wall last Sunday. It was a print that read, "Survival is a skill. Thriving is a choice." She looked at me and said, "I'm choosing now." And I believed her. Mark? He's vanished. Word is he moved states. Still jobless. Still hiding. I don't think he'll resurface anytime soon. And if he does, well, He knows now that there's at least one man in this world who doesn't let cowards walk away clean. We never spoke of him again, not really. Not by name, not by detail. Just in passing, like a storm we lived through. Emily asked me once, late at night when we were sitting on the back porch, "Do you ever feel guilty?" I shook my head. Not for a second, even though it wrecked him, especially because it wrecked him. You don't get to abandon someone in the cold and walk away warm. She didn't say anything after that, just leaned her head on my shoulder and watched the stars. That was enough. That's how you know when you're done with someone. Not when the pain ends, but when their name stops tasting like rust in your mouth. When you finally understand that survival isn't just about breathing, it's about boundaries. And I'd built the tallest damn fence around my daughter the moment he showed me what he was. So no, I don't regret it. Because we're finally warm again. If you've ever had to step in for someone you love, if you've ever watched them shatter and swore to never let it happen again, then you know why I did what I did. Tell me in the comments, what would you have done? Would you have stayed silent? Or stood your ground like I did? Let's talk about what protecting family really looks like, especially when the world tells you to just let it go. Your voice matters here.